All right, a new development update blog was just released by Creative Assembly. Let's kind of pour through this and see some of the revelations or things to come across Three Kingdoms, across Total War Warhammer, and what this really means for the future of both games. Excuse me very much, guys. My voice is pretty shot from doing the Warpstone Cup over this weekend, so please bear with me. But as we can see, James High was telling us that it is the 19th birthday of the Total War. Mark Total War's birthday, our 19th year. I'm not sure if that means Creative Assembly or Total War itself. So we probably have a lot of big things in store for, as he says, as we ramp up to our big 20. So let's see how this kind of pans out here. The Three Kingdoms kind of talks about initially its first amazing success when it comes to its launch, right? Selling more copies than any other Total War title previously. Then it kind of touches in on the 8 Princes period a little bit, but then it goes into the future of their chapter packs. Now, this is going to be particularly interesting to a lot of you, the guys that were a little disappointed with the 8 Princes DLC, wanting it to be a very specific or a different time in the kind of Three Kingdoms continuum, I guess you could say. And personally, I thought we were probably going to get or deal with something with Zhuge Liang and his southern campaign, and it looks like we'll probably be getting that. Yes, absolutely, the Nanman are coming, as well as Yellow Turban Rebellion, like further inclusion into the Yellow Turban Rebellion, but probably portions of the beginning of it before we get into what we have in the Three Kingdoms or Total War Three Kingdoms campaign. In addition to the Liang Province Rebellion, and then the clash of Cao Cao and Lu Bu in the Central Plains, which should be actually a pretty fun situation. If we're just thinking of like a small DLC campaign, and it fleshes out that major conflict, and when I say fleshing, I guess I'm hinting at the part where they flood the city for Lu Bu, but to see that kind of panning out might be a lot of fun. In addition to that, there's a free update coming in October. And that should be what they're kind of saying is, certain characters will be getting new, unique artwork for the main campaign, alongside a number of fixes and balances. We're also aware that the changes to how data is organized for 3K are causing some additional problems with mods. So hopefully we'll get some additions to those mods and changes to that data so that we can finally have a little bit more of a streamlined mod experience when it comes to Three Kingdom, like we have had in almost every other Total War previously in the past couple of years. They did kind of mention... There's a part where they kind of mention how they do want to improve upon the campaign itself without kind of deviating heavily into a whole different era or a whole different portion. So I'd like to see that probably more so than a whole... Here it is. We're also working on DLC that adds significantly to the main campaign and are continuing to look at how that might develop and grow into some much bigger DLCs over time. And I think that's kind of what a lot of people were expecting, right? There are portions of the main campaign that aren't even touched. If you think about the southern portions of China and the southwestern portion of China, they haven't been touched so far in the Three Kingdoms campaign. So hopefully these DLCs to come will flesh them out. I mean, Korea is on the map too, and we haven't even gone there. And that plays a huge part in this whole portion of the ancient Chinese history. Ancient China and Korea have a very close, when I say close, I mean constant warfare, between each other history. And it'll be really interesting to see that kind of fleshed out through some of these DLCs that Creative Assembly is teasing, or at least talking a little bit about in this dev blog. But I think the big thing that everyone's really looking forward to in this dev blog is what this means for the future of Total War Warhammer. And there are a lot of upsetting things in this, like let's just go over this right quick. We don't want everyone to we do want everyone to bear in mind that there's a lot of content out there that is unofficial and fan created. We're working with Games Workshop to realize as much of the Warhammer Fantasy Battles world as we can, but of course there are limits to what is possible given the amount of content that has been officially created over the years. And this content is our source material for the game. The great news is that our collaboration together has already led to amazing things, and rest assured, there's plenty more to come. So I think this kind of puts to rest some of the desires for people within the community to have certain armies or certain things added, which are actually more fan-created or unofficial versus the official stuff that was related through released through White Dwarfs, allied contingent supplements, the individual army books with little bits of lore within the rule book, and across Black Library stuff. So that's what I think they're kind of creating as the Games Workshop canon. And when we think about stuff like the unofficial or the fan-created stuff, the number of fan-created army books such as the Amazons, the People of Albion, Araby, all sorts of Nippon, Ind, Cathay, all of them have had their own fan-created army books. For the most part, all of these races, for the exception of Araby, all of these are minor footnotes in the grand lore of Warhammer. So I think that what they're trying to say with this is, hey, we know you guys want things like Amazons, Cathay, and Ind, Nippon, but we're going to try to work more exclusively with what we have officially from Games Workshop. Now, that isn't to say that they can't take an army that is, scantily mentioned and create something out of nothing. When we take a look at the Vampire Coast, a lot of those things are proprietary, only Creative Assembly creations. And they've done an amazing job at taking the source material and going, boom, here is a full-fledged army with things that didn't exist in the army book for them. Well, the White Dwarf supplement release of them. So take this with a grain of salt. It's kind of saying, like, don't expect anything that is unofficial or fan-created, but expect the unexpected, I guess, when it comes to this. There are still quite a few things that Games Workshop hasn't touched on. They haven't touched on the Southern Realms and Dogs of War. While Araby is an army, Grace did say on the Reddit today that Araby is not in the near future for the Warhammer franchise as it comes to Total War. So we shouldn't expect that to come. But there's a lot of amazing things that could be coming with the Darklands, with the inclusion of Kislev, Ogre Kingdoms, Chaos Demons, the Chaos Dwarfs, all sorts of crazy things over there. We haven't gone into any of the other tribes of Marauders. When we think of Norskins, when we think of Marauders, we think of Norskins. Well, there's a lot of different ones. There's the Kurgan, there's the Mung, and the Kurgan, I think, are going to play a very huge role in the way Kislev interacts with Marauders. It shouldn't just exclusively be Marauders from Norska dealing with Kislev. There should be a lot of Kurgan involved with that. So as we see this pan out, and as we see Creative Assembly fill the map of the Warhammer world, we should hopefully see some interesting inclusions. Now, in addition to that, we do know that we're going to be getting some news about the next DLC / FLC coming in December. But this has kind of changed the way that scope has looked. Initially, when I had read that message from Grace on Reddit, it seemed to me that it was going to be simply news in December. But if we read this little blurb, we're aiming for our next Warhammer 2 DLC and FLC to be out for Festag. And as mentioned in the recent patch notes, we're planning a number of fixes and improvements rather than revisiting an old world race in conjunction with this one. We hope you'll like what we have planned, and not to worry, because yes, Greenskins will be getting updated next year. So this does kind of get the speculation train running already, right? We are hot off the heels of the Hunter and the Beast DLC here in September. So they're saying that we're going to be able to expect probably an announcement for this DLC in late November with a subsequent release by Festag. So I think that was it was like early mid December last year. I can't remember off the top of my head. So that means that we could possibly be seeing 2 big DLCs here by the end of the year, Hunter and the Beast included in that too. And I'm really excited to see what that is, but I am also a little scared to find out what that is. It says that they're not revisiting an old race as far as an old world update. And I think my personal speculation was going to be that they're going to do Eltharion and Grand the Paunch next, which would be High Elves and Greenskins. And I think if Creative Assembly released a Greenskins DLC without updating the Greenskins, people would fucking riot. So my speculation is going to start to extend to Warhammer 1 and 2 races that have either already had updates on the Warhammer 1 end or are just, again, a Warhammer 2 race. So they don't have to worry as much about an update. Although, albeit, I would love to see Intrigue and Court get overhauled for the High Elves, which I think a lot of people in general would. So as we kind of start to move towards this next Warhammer 2 DLC update, we can hopefully start to get more little nuggets of information from Grace and some of the other individuals over at Creative Assembly across the forums, across the Reddit, so on and so forth. But I am really excited nonetheless to see what this could possibly be. My big speculation, like I said, is probably like a Warhammer 1 and 2 race that have already been done. You could do something like Skaven and Dwarfs, or something in the vampire counts, which I think everyone would again riot. If vampire counts got another thing added to the game, people would throw up everywhere. But who knows? We'll see in the days to come. So the note kind of closes here on the mention of the new saga that they're working on. They were talking about Thrones of Britannia and how they've learned a lot from it and how it kind of split the audience and so on and so forth. We did get mention of a copyright claim from Creative Assembly, or I'm sorry, a copyright for Troy, Total War Troy. So hopefully that is the next saga. You know, it says right here, as has already been rumored and mentioned lightly, we're about to start singing an epic saga, a tale of heroism and legendary events that has echoed down the ages. Sounds a lot to me like the Trojan War, or at least maybe like all of Homer's works there together. But I'm really excited to see if this is in fact Total War Troy and the Trojan War, because I think that is something that people have wanted for a long time. I think even since Rome 1 came out and there was no real big portion of it. Although I thought something in Rome 1 had something that gave a nod to the Trojan War. It's been a decade and plus since I've played that game, so if you guys have played Rome 1 recently, let me know in the comment section below if there was something mentioned about Troy. I just cannot remember at this time. But I'm really excited to see what we get in the future for Total War Warhammer 2 or Total War Warhammer 3 with mentions of that, like I think they said it up here. I talked about it a little bit, I think. I can't remember. But hopefully with 2020 being their big year, being their 20th anniversary of the Total War series, we will hopefully have just a blowout year from Creative Assembly across Warhammer 1 or 2 and 3, across Three Kingdoms, all sorts of action here. So really stoked to see what the weeks and months to come bring us as we close 2019. But I'm actually I think a little more excited for 2020 and what that means for the Greenskins, Warhammer 2, any other possible races they might add from Dogs of War, Southern Realms, and what we're going to finally start to hear about Warhammer 3. As I did mention, it's deep in its development cycles. So as always, guys, thank you so much for joining me here today. If you have any questions, you want to make any comments about this development blog, go ahead and let me know in the comments below. But as always, have a good one and take care.